I've never been like one for kind of stepping lightly. I like to be intense, but I like to be emotional. I think that's really, if there's anything I think that would define the work I try and do or the work I'm drawn to, is that it has an emotional response. I never quite know what that is, but I want it to connect with people on an emotional level, not just a visual level.
I constantly want to try and do things which I've not done before and explore new avenues and new things. When I read a script that I think, wow, that's a chance to do something different, then that's where you get excited, you get that little rush of thinking, wow, that's going to be so great.
I have to be a chameleon. That's the nature of being a director, I think. And being aware of what their expectations are and what they feel comfortable, who they feel comfortable collaborating with and in what way.
I think directing is very easy when you really are attached to the project, or you really feel it. If not, it's the most difficult job in the world.
So everything's ideas, whether it's YouTube and a game, a commercial, anything, it's all down to ideas. You know, whatever you do, if you haven't got a good idea, no one's going to be interested.
Hi, join me for tea with Sarah. This is the first in a series of interviews I'm doing on advertising. I invited 5 of my favourite directors for tea, and we talked about everything from how they got started to the future of advertising. Hope you enjoy it as much as I did.
Tell me a little bit about where you started, because I think you first came on my radar anyway when you were at Tony Kaye's.
Yeah, I was very lucky. I left art college and I came to America, and I was kind of freeloading a bit. I wasn't really planning on any profession. I hadn't really got any idea what I was going to do. I didn't go to film school or anything.
But the idea that you're a motorbike messenger, you're delivering a package to BBH, and then you managed to get a job. I mean, what did you just?
What I did was, I delivered a package to BBH. I'd met the receptionist at a party.
Oh yeah.
So she went, oh, and she knew that I knew a girl who worked at BBH who I'd done like an evening class with or something.
I did start trying to be a clapper loader and got sacked because I spoiled a roll of film on a period drama, a BBC period drama, and I knew that I was never going to do it by going up through the ranks because I was just clumsy and hopeless.
I came out of Hornsey Art School with a degree and wasn't really quite sure what to do.
Your dad was a famous producer, is that right?
Yeah, he's a film producer. So basically, that was the easy way, is to go to work on his film sets as the most, youngest crew member.
And I ended up meeting this girl who said you should come and work with me. We went to a set. She took us to a film set, and it was Tony was in a helicopter filming a MiG jet flying 20 feet above a Formula One race car out in the desert, and I was like, very much blown away. And this is the first film set I'd ever been on, and I was like, this is what I want to do.
Ended up meeting John Hegarty, who took me on as a kind of, I don't know whether it was an experiment or what, but his writer was pregnant, so she was off maternity leave. And I had a few people going, oh my God, you realise how lucky you are. I had no idea at all.
Then I got to know Tony on that job, and very naively I was saying, oh Tony, why don't you use the crane and go that way? And he said, oh, that's a good idea. And then at the end of the job he said you should be a director.
I realised that my true sort of ability area was sort of somewhere between directing and DP at that time, in that I didn't really have those skills that the best DPs have. I was more of a play with it and see what works kind of DP.
I studied law, but I really wanted to do something with film. So there was a bit of a struggle. And then I met all these people who were or on Film Academy or were making low budget films and had nothing to do with the established world of my father. So very underground, made little films on 16, and so I quit law school.
I realised that I couldn't take those steps forward as a DP, I suppose. There were people saying, when I was talking too much on set, directors would say,
right,
why don't you either shut up or do it yourself?
And then I saw a few really good commercials. And I was like, oh yeah, but this is little short films actually.
Yeah.
I didn't saw them as commercials. I saw them as little little pearls.
Yeah.
90-second little short stories. So I was like, that might be interesting.
In fact, my worst moments were when I was a creative. My worst memories were when I was a creative working with directors. It was tough.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, because like choosing the right person for the job is like one of the most important things you can do, I imagine.
I guess it's quite important.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you get the wrong person,
Yeah.
you've had it. If you get the right person, it's still quite hard work, but
Yeah.
Is the sort of the chemistry with teams and an agency important? I mean,
Yeah, very,
that's
very
like-
important.
Yeah.
Very important. I mean, I think some of, I love what I do. I love working with the same group of people.
You've got your core team.
Yeah, especially my DP and my editor,
Right.
because we all speak the same language.
Yes. Yes.
So I mean, they're really other good guys,
Yeah.
especially DPs I can change.
Yeah.
My editor is sort of really important.
Right.
Basically, if you get those key people that you trust and who are really good, then that's half the battle won.
There's positive relationships with agencies and there's negative ones, and I think that if you're given trust, you're not going to mess it up. I think when it's like every step of your kind of journey is plagued by micromanagement, too many questions, too many filters, hundreds of people asking you different things. It's exhausting and you kind of get a bit fed up.
The things that actually annoy me are things are to do with lack of communication, and I think that's the most frustrating thing.
So ultimately, it's a relationship. It's a relationship between people, and you need to make it work the best you can to get the best stuff.
At the end of the day, the better the dynamic of the relationship between agency and director, the better the work, and I think that's what develops a relationship. I love going back and working with people who I've had a good experience with.
Well, the whole constraint, like it has to be done in these parameters.
Yes.
But the client wanting this, and the agency wanting this, and the backstory of the product this, and my personal. I mean, that's good.
Yes.
It's good to have boundaries.
Yes, of course.
But then get the maximum out of what is in those boundaries.
Right.
I find often you get given an idea, someone else's idea, and you have and then I spend the rest of the time protecting that idea
Yeah.
from everybody. So it's not even my idea, it's someone else's. I'm often protecting it from them.
Yeah.
I'm protecting it from the client. I'm protecting, it's like someone's giving you this gem, and it's really weird because often you're protecting it, they want to destroy it afterwards.
Right,
and I'm sort of objectively going, no, that's the good bit.
A creative mind worked on something for 2 years. One thing.
Yeah.
Constantly having to go back to the drawing board again and again and again. And then you get this upstart director coming in and saying, sod all that, come on, let's do this, it's going to be great, come on. And they're expecting you to respond to that like, great.
Yeah.
Because I feel bad for them because I know how much pain it must be when they've had like 20 great ideas
Yeah.
that they've really kind of struggled to get,
Yeah.
and then they're just all like, no,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then they've got this one, and then they're getting it made, and then it's like, I think that's why they tend to be very precious with them.
There's always someone out to kill the idea,
Yeah.
no, because if we do that, as opposed to the original thing, that went through research, we don't take responsibility. If it all fails, we'll just say, well, it went through research, well, you bought it, you approved, nobody's responsible.
I feel clients have so much influence now that they are sort of restricting the agency too much, and by that they're restricting the director too much.
Yes.
Which dilutes, I think, the whole creative process.
It's much easier just to do rubbish, but no one's responsible, and when it stinks, no one takes responsibility and
Blame
you carry
somebody
on.
else,
So,
or, yeah.
I mean, I'm happy to sort of say, I'll throw my cap in the ring and say, I think you should do it like that, and I'll say, well, if it messes up, you do a reshoot for nothing or
Right.
whatever.
So presumably when you get scripts for an agency, do you sort of spend a bit of time really thinking about it to sort of work out what you can add and whether you can actually sort of relate to it?
Yeah, I mean, I'm quite gut, it's like,
Gut reaction?
yeah, I mean, I'll read it, and if it gels, you pretty quickly when you like something or not.
When you read a script, and it's somebody else's idea.
Yes.
Can you add something that makes it yours?
Yes.
And that's through conversations and calls and stuff to find if that's possible or not.
Yes.
You've got to go with what you believe in your heart is right. And if everyone is aligned with you, you'll get the job. If they think you're full of shit, you're not going to get the job. Yeah. And what's really hard for people to get is the minute you try to second guess what the other person wants, you've had it, it's all over. Whether you're a musician and you're trying to, now I'm not saying be insensitive and don't listen, but you've got to go with your gut feel. And that's the hardest thing to sort of tell people, because they're trying to analyze, you know what someone wants. And the truth is, a lot of the time, human beings don't know what they want.
It has to be about entertaining people and telling a story and giving an atmosphere and being entertaining, because that's what people want, and selling a dream.
I mean, TV is having a golden age, isn't it? But we're sort of maybe viewing it through Netflix and other forms.
Absolutely.
Sitting down watching a program and
exactly. So it is a difficult time, but there'll always be people watching content.
Yeah.
And
it's just got to get better, hasn't it? Don't you think overall?
Well, I think, for me, it's a question of just being ready to respond. I mean, it's interesting because I think from the agency side is a different approach, because it's about creating that change.
Yes.
And for me, it's more about being ready to respond to it.
Fundamentally, what it's all about is the big idea.
Yeah.
It's a great idea, it's the big idea. And it doesn't matter, it can be long form, it can be this, it can be that, it doesn't matter as long as it's a great idea. And that's so true, isn't it?
You either want to watch it, or you don't. You either remember it or you don't. It either is head or heart.
Yeah.
It doesn't really. There's a lot of guff spoken about it.
Yeah, and the good thing is hopefully there'll be more good work. You know.
I mean, people always worry about the future. I mean, I read this thing the other day, and it was like, it was quotes of people going, the youth of today, just nailing the problem.
Yeah.
One was 600 years BC, one was 400 years BC, one was Fritz Engels. People have been saying the same thing forever. Yeah.
Do you feel sort of optimistic or pessimistic about the future of advertising and where it's going? Not just for you, but just generally, like for us. Generally.
I mean, I think that advertising is like any kind of commercial medium. It has to adapt to survive. And I think if you look at how the record companies just sat by and waited for the internet to take all their business away without kind of understanding where the business was going. I think advertising agencies are a bit quicker. As the smaller agencies are a bit more nimble and they start to see, I know where this is going. And I hope, for my sake anyway, that the kind of the event commercials thing doesn't go away, and I don't think it will really, because I think people are still going to go to the cinemas, they're still going to watch the Super Bowl. I hope that there's less advertising but better quality.
Yeah.
But I think that I love watching well-made kind of classical good ideas filmmaking.
Yeah.
It's people Google that. It's funny, I've seen like some of my work online where there's an advert in front of it.
Yes, I know.
It's very weird that but that I think, and I think those things, like PlayStation, for instance, just launched online before it even came on TV. So I think people are exploring those worlds, and they still want to do big things. So hopefully we're not going to be the way of the dinosaurs quite yet.
That's good. I'm glad to hear that.